Okay, Dobe? Could you get Dobe's attention? Hey, Dobe?
Yeah, he said yes.
Dobe? Oh, he's getting pictures of a good-looking girl. Huh? You're not paying attention. I'm telling you. Okay, Mr. Dobe, here's one that they wanted you to sing, but since you declined, I want to sing it for you. Well, hello everybody. On behalf of the County of Los Angeles Department of Parks and Recreation and the co-host, the Santa Clarita Artists Association, I'd like to welcome everybody to Tesoro and for the return of Harry Carey Jr. Last time he was here was November 2005, and he says it's changed a little bit since that dedication. But we've got some officials who are going to make a few presentations.
Well, this ranch here was my mom and pop homesteaded the first 500 acres about 1916 or 17. I'm not sure what year was 16 or 17 is all I know. And that in those days the government, you could homestead a place, you had to live on it for 5 years, and after 5 years it belonged to you, it was yours. So we had the first 500 acres and of the Carey Ranch, and right in where we're standing now. And there was one little house on it, and then of course my mom and dad added onto it, and it was just a frame house, white frame house. Then in 1931 that burned down. And so then they built this Adobe house. And this Adobe house that we're talking about, Harry Carey's Adobe house, was 3,000 square feet. It was $1 a foot, cost $3,000 bucks.
There's your stats.
Oh my Lord, look at that.
And your father?
That's my dad.
And your mom?
Yeah.
Apparently she did some acting too, right?
Yeah, that was fantastic. My pop. Yeah. Oh, yeah, there's Sonny. Anybody else got a question?
Okay, we got more questions for you. My name is Kurt Kendall. I'm about a 40-year resident of Valencia. And first of all, I want to thank you for this fabulous treasure that you've left us. This is just outstanding, and we can't express our appreciation enough.
Oh, thank you so much.
I'm a fellow graduate with John Wayne at Glendale High School, a few years apart. And I wanted to ask you, what was your experience with John Wayne in the movies that you appeared with him?
It was a wonderful experience. And before we made the Three Godfathers, Duke says, I don't know if you know this or not, but I think you're in for it, don't you? And I said, yeah, I heard that. And he said, yeah, the old man's going to ride you pretty good. But he warned me ahead of time. And I was going to quit, I don't know how many times. When we were making that movie, he kept saying, I wish I had Audie Murphy. And he was always going to replace me with Audie Murphy. And it was... he was really tough. I don't know what it was that I think he was still mad at my father, so he took it out on me. But when we made Three Godfathers, I had a notion. I figured, that the Mexican band that Pedro Ramadarius and the part that John Wayne played, Bob Hightower, he played. I figured that if they could take this kid along with Robin Banks and things, he would be kind of a cocky kind of a kid. He wouldn't be this sort of mother's boy and just sort of this dear, sweet kid along with him to Rob Banks. I thought he'd be a little more worldly, But Ford wanted me to play it like a choir boy, He wanted me to play it like that, the way I did it. he was a good guy. We had a lot of fun together too, with John Wayne. He was a wonderful guy and a real professional. When you worked with him on the show, he was all business and he was a perfectionist, and he was very proud of what he did and was very conscientious of what everybody else did. So it was always fun working with him. And actually, when he worked with John Wayne with John Ford, it was a totally different deal than it was working for John Wayne on a show other than John Ford. He was two different people.
Dobe, you have fans all around the world. They come here looking for you. They ask me questions. You know, he lives up there, Santa Barbara.
I'll be darned.
So, some of the questions they ask is it true that just before the dam broke, the Indian Navajos that lived here, they had a kind of a sense that the dam was unsafe, and they said, we're out of here. The question is, did they leave hours before? Some people think 12 hours, days, okay? Can you clear that up?
Yes, I can. We went, there was a deer hunt, and went deer hunting, and they rode by the face of the dam, and not long, about a few days after that, with a medicine man, I remember they called him Dine Tubigay. He came up, the medicine man and another man called Stryker, who was a silversmith, and they said to my father, we heard you were going to New York, and he said, yeah, I have to go back and make some money. He said, well, if you go back east, we want to go back to the reservation, back to Arizona. And Pop said, why? And they said, because the dam's going to break. And my father said, what makes you say that? And they said, because we rode by the front when we were up there on that deer hunt, and there's a big crack. And of course there was, and they went back to the reservation, and the dam broke, and of course wiped out the whole lower part of the ranch and drowned Mr. and Mrs. Harder, who had the trading post there, and then and there were a great many people killed in that flood. People remember the San Francisco fire somehow, but actually a bigger disaster was the St. Francis Dam disaster. Oh my Lord! This is my old room. Well, this is the room I had when I left for the Navy. My God. I got some stories. Not too good to tell mixed company, I guess, but it was a fond memory. Yep.
Hi, my name is Layla, and I'm from Newhall. And I was wondering, what are some of your memories about the movie Tombstone that you did in '93? And also, I know Mask was not a Western, but I love doing that movie. And I just wonder, what are some of your memories about making Tombstone in particular and Mask?
Oh, fine, thank you. Well, Mask was interesting because it was Peter Bogdanovich directed it, and I've always thought he was a good director, and I enjoyed working on that. I didn't know how to ride a motorcycle, and I was scared to death of doing it. So what they did was they gave me a side hack on the motorcycle, but there was an old Harley motorcycle, and it was fun cruising around in that old bike. And it was nice working on that film because there was some nice, Cher was a very nice person.
Oh, yeah. And Sam Elliott.
And Sam Elliott was a terrific guy, and so it was a happy shoot. It really was. And what was the other show?
Tombstone.
Tombstone
Yeah.
was a little impersonal. I knew Kurt Russell from television back in the old days, but he changed a lot by the time we made Tombstone, and I found him to be different. I'd say that even if he was here, he just was different on Tombstone. But it turned out to be a heck of a good Western, and Kurt did a wonderful job in it. The night we shot my scene where I got killed was at 3 in the morning. It was on the old Western Street up there in Tucson.
Yeah.
and it was a wonderful experience. The shooting scene, because the guy that played Curly Bill was very convincing, and he fired that gun awful close, and I had a plate right in here, so it would have probably put a hole about that deep in me if I hadn't had that on. Wow. But it worked out good, and it was a good death scene. Well, the big difference, you know, is that I'm not trying to be phony modest or anything, but my dad was a genuine #1 star, a real movie star. I was a supporting actor. I never expected to be a star because I didn't have that kind of quality. But I was a fairly good, talented actor, and worked as a supporting actor for years and years. But I never was what you call a motion picture star. My pop was.
Hi, Mr. Carey. My name is Melissa. I'm with the Signal newspaper. I have 2 questions. The first one is, how did you meet your lovely wife? And 2, one of your friends was telling me about the day that when your father sold the ranch and the day you left, if you could describe that experience.
Okay. And how you met Marilyn? I met Marilyn. I knew her before she was even grown at all. She was a friend of my sister's, and my father, Marilyn's father, was an actor called Paul Frick, and he was in Rifleman. He was Micah on Rifleman. And he worked in hundreds of movies. He made more movies than any man I ever met. And so one time my father was going to do this play, and he wanted to put this play on Broadway. And so he was talking to Milburn Stone, the man that later was Doc on Gunsmoke. And he said, and Mel said, well, listen, I know a guy called Paul Fix, and he's a great guy writing scripts. And he said, I'll send Paul up, and he said, you talk about the play with Paul, and he'll help you write the script. And so Paul came up, and he and my dad hit it off, and they never did write the script, but we got to know the Fixes real good. And Marilyn was just a little girl, and I was 16, and she was like 12. And so then I went off to war in the Navy, and I came back one time at the Fix's house, and she came up, and she's a platinum blonde. She was gorgeous, and I hadn't seen her in a long time, and so that was the beginning. And 6 weeks later, we were married. I didn't want to let her get away. So that's how I met Marilyn.
My other question was if you could describe the experience when you had to leave the ranch.
Oh, when we had to leave the ranch, that was a sad thing for my dad, because he homesteaded that place in 1916. And so I left because, the war was on and everything. So, but my mom wanted to get off the ranch, and they sold the ranch. And my father, I think when he drove off down that road with my mom leaving the ranch, I think that's when he started to die. It sounds very dramatic, but I really do. He just didn't. That was his place, and that's the one place he loved, and that's the place he wanted to wind up his life. And my mom took him away from there, and he never was the same since. He never was. He passed away just a few years later. But that was a place that he loved so much, and all of the good times that he had was at that ranch. So it was a tough thing for him. It really was. During the Depression, people would drive out here in the country. This was all, unoccupied by houses. It was all just country, and they turned the dogs loose there because they didn't want to feed them anymore. The heart of the Depression. So, and there were stray dogs around. My dad would take them all home, and we had a whole bunch of dogs. We loved dogs, and when we went on a ride with the horses, we took off, and they just had this army of dogs going rope, 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 and off we went.
Today it would be your entourage.
Huh?
It would be called your entourage.
Yeah, it was my entourage, our entourage.
Airman Second Class Emmett Clifford J. Jr. AF 19552645 reporting for Q&A, sir.
Thank you.
And I do take directions, Dobe.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Listen, one story I loved in your book was the story you told about how you learned to Roman ride with Ben Johnson.
Okay.
Would you tell the people that don't know what Roman riding is and talk about that event, and maybe it will wet their whistle and they can go out and buy your book. I think they got some flyers out of it for
Okay, I'll do that.
Tell that story.
Thank you very much. Roman riding is standing on two horses. And it's when the two horses are broke to run together. And when you get up on them, you put one foot on one horse and one foot on the other horse, and that's the way you ride them. And so Ben and I had to learn how to Roman ride, and John Ford told us, "You guys know what Roman riding was?" We said, "Yes, we did." And he said, "Well, why don't you learn how to do it?" When you start to learn how to Roman ride, when you start to get up on the horse, and you get them to hold their withers like that, when you start to get up on them, they take off. And they know they're free, then they take off. And that's what you want. And then you stand up on them. Well, I get up halfway, and they look down, and I see the ground going 34 miles an hour between the two. And I sit back down. And after about the third time I sat back down, the old Hank Potts was there. He said, "Next time you sit down on that horse, I'm going to hit you with this rock." And he had a rock, and he was going to hit me with the rock. And so I never sat down again. I learned how to Roman ride. That's the way I learned. That's a true story.
Hey, Mr. Carey. My name's Lynn Zook. My husband and I, we used to live here in Valencia. We live down in Sherman Oaks now. And I was a guest programmer on Turner Classic Movies last month as part of their anniversary. And the film that I got to introduce was She Wore a Yellow Ribbon, which is one of my favorite John Ford, and Dobe Carey films. And I was hoping maybe you could talk a little bit about the making of that film.
Sure. About the making of She Wore a Yellow Ribbon. It was, I worked for John Ford in Three Godfathers. That was the second film that I worked for him, and my third film with John Wayne. The first film with John Wayne was Red River, which was a Howard Hawks picture, and then Three Godfathers, and this one. And so Yellow Ribbon was a classic, and it's so popular, and it was filmed in 28 days. Wow. And that's how many days it took to make She Wore a Yellow Ribbon, and that's counting everything. So people think, oh, well, that was how much it was on location, or that was, but that's for the whole movie. It was 28 filming days, and it turned out to be a pretty good picture. And it was a funny thing. John Ford said to Dobe, he said, "Dobe, I want you to talk with Barry Fitzgerald's brother was Arthur Shields, and talk about your part with Arthur Shields." And so I took my role, my script, and went to see Arthur Shields, who played the doctor in Yellow Ribbon, but he was in a lot of John Ford films. And he said, Shields gave me this tip-off on the character. He said, "You're a spoiled rich kid." And he said, "That's the kind of part you're playing," because he said, "You don't get the girl, Agar gets the girl." And he said, "You're a spoiled rich kid." And that's the way I played Lieutenant Pinnell, as a kind of a snob. And it worked out pretty good, although I wasn't as well liked as I would have been if I'd have been. But anyway, it was still a good character thing for me. So it was a wonderful experience working on Yellow Ribbon, and it's Monument Valley back in 47 or 48. It was 48. Was so primitive, and there was no hot showers. There was none of that. It was really rugged outdoor stuff. Ford loved that stuff, and our uniforms never were washed. We kept those same uniforms on for the time we were working there. You could stand them up in the corner when we got back. And it was just terrific working on that picture because we actually felt like we were in the cavalry. You know, we really did. It was so rugged and outdoors, and we didn't have hot water. It was cold water. It was just like camping out almost on that show, and I think it showed in the movie, and it showed the ruggedness and the hardship of living in that part of the country, and that's why it was so much fun. It really was fun, and Wayne was so happy working on that film. He enjoyed playing that part. It was his favorite part of Nathan Brittles. He loved it.
Yeah. Hi, my name's Emily. I was wondering, you met so many movie stars. Were there any movie stars that you were starstruck by?
Ingrid Bergman. But the ones I worked with, I never had that. Except that the guy that I most respected working with was actually Duke Wayne, John Wayne, and and he was fun to work with also. Later on, he got ornery, but back then,
what was your favorite movie?
My favorite movie was to work on was The Searchers, and it was just a powerful story, and I think Wayne gave his best performance in that picture. I ran off and got killed by the Indians, but I always played those dumb guys, so but it was fun. Geez, you know what? There used to be a mountain over there, and we had one of the dogs called Hobo, and we called him Hobie. And all the dogs would be around here, and my dad would go, "Get him, Hobie!" like that, and they'd run, 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 and they'd all take off and go over that hill. And there's nothing up there. It was a big game. And they all run over that hill. Get him, Hobie! Yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
Hi, my name is Stephen K. Peoples. I'm a Canyon Country resident for the last 22 years, and wanted to echo the community's gratitude for donating this wonderful place for all of us to enjoy. I first saw you on Spin and Marty. I guess that dates me. But I was really interested in when you were growing up here as a kid with the other little kids that were on the ranch. And I've seen a picture of you, you and Cappy, playing with a couple of Navajo kids. And I hear the story about how you learned how to speak Navajo before you spoke English. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about that experience.
Okay, thank you. Yes, we did speak Navajo, but not before we spoke English. That was the newspaper people put that in. But, I think my sister Cappy, because her nurse was a Navajo girl, I think Cappy spoke Navajo before she spoke English. And of course, Navajo is a tough language. It totally confused the Japanese in World War II. You know, they were talking Navajo. We're doing the signal corps and stuff. So, well, to give you an idea, for example, horse in Navajo is shni. Shni, that's horse. Shni, and when I say it in front of a Navajo, he falls down laughing. But I still don't do it right, but that's the best way I could do it. I remember pig was bishoti, biyazu, little pig. I don't know some of the words that I had. But the hardest one was horse, was clean. And
what about the kids you played with?
The kids I played with were Navajo kids, and we'd have a good time together. And we had a place behind the house in a ditch there where we had all of our model cars and everything. Built roads along the side of the ditch, and the kids would. When Cappy and I'd be in school and come back, and the Navajo kids would be playing in there, and then they'd change. You know, we'd get in a big argument about it because they messed it all up. But it was fun. It was a wonderful boyhood. My dad never really wanted to leave that ranch, and I think when they took him off that ranch, he started to die right there. It sort of broke his heart to leave the ranch. He didn't want to do that. So. His heart's still here. It's Harry Carey's place, and that was. I feel that he's still part of him is still with us here, because he just loved this country. He just loved it.
Today is so special because having you here, coming back to this restored your family ancestral home, is so special for us. We can't even tell you how much this means to all of us in the community.
Thank you very, very much. I can't. I'm sort of spellbound here with being at the ranch and being back here. It's. I can, I say it brings back a lot of memories. It's a corny thing to say, but it just everything in my memory that is beautiful and I'm the most proud of happened at this place. And this is where I grew up, and I guess I grew up in some ways, not so much in other ways, but it was a great place for a kid to grow up, and when we had all the livestock and the horses and all that kind of stuff, and when I got into motion pictures myself, I didn't have to learn how to ride a horse because we did all that. So we did it all here at the ranch. Yeah. All right. Well, where's the car?
As I walked out in the streets of Laredo, as I walked out in Laredo one day.
Where's your namesake?
That's Dobe.
This is Dobe.
Oh my God, there's Dobe. He was found. Hi, Dobe. How are you?
Dobe, meet Dobe.
When he was found,
I rescued him off the streets. When
you
I was
sure
working on a
did.
movie.
Look at him. He remembers me. Oh yeah, he sure does.
I see by your outfit you are a
You're really
cowboy.
going?
Yeah, I'm going home.
Can you help him?
Yeah.
Try to stay out of jail, Dobie, will you? For
I love
Christ's sake.
those movies.
I'm getting tired of bailing you out.
Beside me, hear my sad story.
Well, keep watching the Western movies, and maybe they'll start making some more of them. In fact, I might even make another one myself if somebody take a chance. I still ride good. Yeah. Watch those Western movies. That's my parting shot. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you for everything.